Hi everyone, Neal Acree here with a long overdue YouTube channel update. I want to say hi to all the new subscribers and thank you for being here. It's been a long time since I've given an update, and I just wanted to kind of catch you up on what's been happening this year. 2019 has been one of the most busy and amazing years of my life. And, I don't even know where to start. I guess start at the beginning of the year. The year started out with Honor of Kings, which is a Chinese game from Tencent that, if you haven't heard of it, it's one of the biggest games in China. There's like 200 million subscribers, and the previous theme composers were Hans Zimmer and Howard Shore, and I got to write a new theme and some new music for the game, and an incredible honor, to say the least, to be a part of that lineage of composers. And also got to contribute to the game Age of Empires, the mobile game produced by Tencent. Another incredible honor. It's a great game, and I've been familiar with the franchise for many years, and getting to be a part of that was really cool. Now, Rend came out in March, and that was a game I'd worked on for a couple of years, the debut game from Acree Studios. And I got to work with the singer of the band Wardruna, one of my favorite bands, on the music. He contributed vocals, and got to work with some other amazing soloists. The soundtrack is now available on Materia Collective, digitally, but also the CDs and the vinyl started shipping. So please check that out. I'll put a link in the description here. And Rend was also recently nominated for a Society of Composers and Lyricists award, the first of its kind, and a real honor to be nominated for that, and to have the music recognized. It's kind of one of those projects that flew under the radar a bit, very different kind of music from me. The game, just didn't quite get the attention that all the other, huge titles I've worked on have, but the music nonetheless is very special, and getting recognition like that makes it, just even more meaningful. So thank you to all the fellow composers that voted on that award, and everyone that's checked out the album so far. Please, check it out if you haven't. Earlier this year, the World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth animated shorts Safe Harbor and The Reckoning were released, and getting to be a part of that series that began last year with Old Soldier was just incredible. I want to thank everyone for the kind words about the music, and as a composer, getting to write in such an understated, intimate kind of style, especially against such a huge epic backdrop, was a real gift, and really very inspiring canvas to paint on, so to speak. Director Mark Messenger and all the writers and artists that brought these things to life really did amazing work, and to get to be a part of that with making the music was really just an incredible gift. And thank you to everyone for the kind words. Also worked on the in-game cinematics for World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth, the patch cinematics that were released, directed by Taron Gregory. Always just a huge honor to be a part of this ongoing story, and to get to spend time with the characters that I've grown to love, and getting to be a part of telling that story is one of my favorite parts of what I get to do. And it's been the World of Warcraft legacy has been one of the most important parts of my career. The first thing I ever scored in the video game world was the Burning Crusade cinematic, otherwise known as the Dark Portal, back in 2006. And since then, I've scored 8 opening cinematics, all 8 opening cinematics since then, for World of Warcraft, including Shadowlands cinematic that was released at BlizzCon this year, directed by Brian Horn. First time working with him on a World of Warcraft cinematic, and we had started working together when he was an editor at Blizzard. And it was a very different cinematic, different musically, different in a lot of ways, but at the same time revisited some familiar themes you might recognize from the Arthas, My Son cinematic. That was fun to get to revisit those. Also just kind of going for a different sound and a different kind of taking the music to a different level. And, one of my favorite parts of getting to work on these is, I was at BlizzCon, I was in Hall D with all the, people there, I don't know, 20,000, 30,000 people there, getting to hear it on the big speakers and see the final, final rendered animation, which along the way, I don't always get to see the final version of the animation until the very end of the process. Sometimes I'm working with storyboards. Sometimes I'm even working before the storyboards are made. Sometimes, it's wireframe. It's something a little more, blocky, or even sometimes there are shots with the actors, doing, walking around on screen, kind of doing their dialogue as reference for the animation. So I see all different kinds of reference for the visuals to write to, but it isn't until the very end that I get to see the final animation and the final lighting pass, and oftentimes it's like seeing it for the first time, and it's just incredible. And I have often the same emotional reaction that the fans do, the people that are watching this for the first time, even though I've seen it 1,000 times. Getting to see it all together mixed with the incredible sound effects. And, it's like watching it for the first time, and getting to hear my music and know that I've been a part of this, process makes it just this incredible experience. Also released at BlizzCon was the 0 Hour cinematic for Overwatch 2. I got to work on with Adam Burgess, staff composer at Blizzard. Adam is an incredibly talented young composer that I met through Blizzard, and he wrote the incredible new theme that plays when Genji comes in and saves the day. And it was really fun to get to work with him on this. And the cinematic itself is just an emotional roller coaster, and as always, getting to work on these is an emotional roller coaster in itself. Getting to, just the challenge of stepping into something like this that's so big in scope and has, it's telling such a big story, such an emotional story. You step in there and the first thing you think is, what am I going to even, write for this? There's so many different beats that the music has to catch. There's thematic things that the music has to quickly shift, and it's always a daunting task at first. There's always sheer terror that takes over the moment I realize, oh my God, I have to write the music for this. But at some point along the way, it all clicks, and it just, inspiration takes over, and somehow I wake up the next morning and realize, oh my God, it's actually done. We actually got through this. And you wonder, of course, during this whole time, how is the audience going to react? Especially something like this where, we're working in this bubble. It's like living in a bubble at the bottom of the ocean with nobody but you and the filmmaker for weeks, months, or even years at a time. You're just trying to tell the best story you can, and all you can do is just focus on, moving each other emotionally, making sure that it's something that resonates with you. You can't think about anything beyond that for that time. And then one day that bubble rises to the surface and opens up, and you can finally breathe. And, if you're lucky, you get to take in all of the feedback that everyone is sharing, and hopefully it's positive. And in the case of something like the 0 Hour cinematic, it's just amazing to hear all the positive responses to the music, and to have been a part of that is just an incredible gift. And I thank everyone for sharing their enthusiasm and their kind words. It really makes what we do worth it. It can be really challenging to be, locked away for all that time. Ultimately, we do it because we love it and, couldn't imagine doing anything else. I create because I feel that's my purpose in this world. And I would go crazy if I wasn't creating something at any given moment. But to be able to share it in the world and have people respond to it in the way that they have, really it's just an extra added layer that makes all of this so much more rewarding. So thank you for that. Earlier this year, I released the first single from my upcoming album, The Velvet Machine, called One World. The album itself has been underway for 14 years in one form or another. About a year ago, I decided I'm going to release this thing. It's about time I get it out there in the world, and then have gotten so busy that it's difficult to write music when you spend all day writing music for a living. But One World is out. It's available on all digital platforms. Please check it out. For those that don't know, The Velvet Machine is my first solo album. It's an electronic album with some orchestral elements, completely different than anything I've done before. The single, One World, is actually somewhere in between the stuff I've done before and what will be on the album, which, it's just, influences from Nine Inch Nails, Depeche Mode, just really all over the place. And it's the kind of music that just came from deep inside. And it's been a really interesting personal learning experience to kind of find this music and bring it out in the world. The kind of thing that's kind of pushed me to have to learn new mixing techniques and new electronic programming techniques, just different things that have helped me grow as an artist. But it's also been extra challenging because there is no deadline. There's nobody telling me it needs to be this or it needs to be that. It's all just me finding this music and bring it out into the world. And along the way, I've 6 years ago wrote some music that the hard drive got damaged and I lost the final version of it, and I've had to recreate things from scratch to be able to record live instruments with it and to be able to fully realize it the way I always wanted to. So it's been one of these, it's been the project of a lifetime. And when it finally comes out, I hope everyone will enjoy it and enjoy hearing a different side of me musically. Ultimately, I've been doing this for myself. I've been doing it because this music just needs to get out there. And it's the kind of project that I've lost a lot of sleep over, just trying to make sure it's the best it can be, hoping people will respond to it well. Ultimately, it's something I'm doing for myself, but I do hope that the music moves people on some level. It's always difficult to share something new with an audience that knows you for other things and hope that it will be embraced. So thank you to everyone that's listened to One World and everything I've done so far, and has been so welcoming and enthusiastic about the announcement of the album. I can't wait to share it. Most recently, I got to work on something completely different. It was episode 4 of Undead Wood from Critical Role. Very different, a lot of fun. Getting to work in an Old West style. And also, from a storytelling standpoint, getting to write music for a role-playing game. You're scoring action that isn't in real time. You're scoring the action of the gameplay as well as the action that's within the actual game, within the story that's being told. So again, very different, a unique challenge, a lot of fun. And I want to thank Brian W. Foster for inviting me to be a part of this, and Travis Willingham, Marisha Ray for believing in me and encouraging me. And it was just a really fun and unique project that I hope to get to do more of that kind of thing in the future. I guess that's about it. I also wanted to mention, I wanted to answer a question that a lot of people ask on a regular basis, which is, why don't you release this piece of music or that piece of music? And the answer is usually that I don't have the rights to do so. So it's ultimately not up to me to decide, what gets released. In some cases, yes, and in a lot of cases, no, just based on the nature of work for hire agreements, which is common in the industry. So if I haven't released something, chances are it's not up to me to decide whether or not it gets released. I would, of course, love all my music to be out there in the world, but, it's not up to me. And I hope you'll, ask the studios, the developers, and people, if there are things you want to hear, please make some noise and ask and see if you can make something happen. But ultimately, it's not up to me, and I don't always have the ability to make those kind of things happen on my own. Another question I get asked is, why don't you do more content like this, more videos talking about the projects and things? A couple reasons. One is a lot of the stuff I work on is under NDA, and I can't get too deep into the details of how it's made. Another thing is I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I want to make the videos be like super polished and perfect and have high production value, and I just don't have the time. Maybe I should push myself to try to just do something simple like this, just sit down in front of a cell phone and just talk. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy sharing, my process. I'm even working on a book on the creative process, which, it's kind of been a long time dream of mine to be able to release a book. And, the creative process and inspiration has been a subject that's been incredibly fascinating for me. Trying to find better ways to harness inspiration and, maximize my creative ability. But it's been one of those things where the more answers I come up with, the more questions I have. So, I'm working on it bit by bit, hoping to release that at some point in the future, and I hope you'll check that out. In the meantime, I might do some blogs or, kind of a written kind of journal on the creative process. But please let me know in the comments if there's any questions you have. As I mentioned before, there's a lot of things I can't talk about, and I don't always have time to answer, but if you have anything you want to know, I'll do my best to answer. And I hope to have another update for you before too long. I just want to say thanks again to everyone that's supported me throughout the years, and especially the new people that have subscribed. It really means a lot to me, to know that you're listening to the music and that it's meaningful to you in some way. It makes what I do that much more meaningful. Thanks for all the YouTube covers and people that have performed my music. That's just another added layer to this that I never would have expected to get to hear people learning music that I wrote, performing it, recording videos of it, and having their own interpretations and presentations of it. It just blows my mind every time. So thank you. Continue to share those. And if you like what you hear here, you want to hear more of the same, please subscribe, share the channel, and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, so forth. Thank you so much, and happy holidays.